That was Governor Ayodele Fayose of Ekiti State on hard copy last week. Now, the threat of the violence between herdsmen and farmers is such that it's claimed at least 500 lives in 2016 alone, if we're to go by the number of victims from Agatu in Benue State, Nimbo in Enugu State, Dori and Mesuma villages in Gashaka Local Council of Taraba State, and only recently Godogodo in Kaduna State. But how much is known on the root of this crisis?
Kaduna we inherited is a city that is divided more or less along the river. River Kaduna divides us. In the south you have Christians and non-indigens. In the north you have mostly Muslims and Hausa-speaking northerners. And it's very unhealthy. And the industries are in the south, okay? And these repeated cycles of religious and ethnic violence, are part of what contributed to destroying Kaduna. That is one. The second, of course, is which is a more recent one, is the challenge of cattle rustling and what came after it. I think cattle rustling has its roots in the post-2011 election violence. Okay, Kaduna lost about 800 lives during the post-election violence. It was the worst in the country. It didn't get as much media attention as it should, but many lives were lost, particularly in southern Kaduna. Now that led to two things. First, many of the Fulanis that were killed or displaced during the period now lost their cattle and turned to cattle rustling. Second, we had a series of reprisal killings happening over and over in southern Kaduna. This is what we found. In fact, I was sworn in on Friday, 29th May. That evening, there were killings in Sanga local government in southern Kaduna. So my first assignment as governor was to call a security council meeting on Saturday to address it. We've been trying to address all those issues. The killings in southern Kaduna have more or less stopped, thanks to the intervention of a committee we set up under the leadership of General Agwai, former Chief of Defense Staff. He did a very good job of going around and really tracing the root of these killings, and found that most of those that come in to do these killings are from other African countries, Cameroon, Chad, Mali, Senegal, because this happened in April. And these cattle rearers had come from these countries and were going back because they moved across the West Africa sub-region. They came in just as they were going back with their cattle. This problem happened. If you remember the elections of April 2011, and they were just victims that were passing through. And of course, the Fulanis have this long memory of revenging any killings. So their relations were coming from other countries to revenge. So we had to reach out to some of those communities outside Nigeria and say to them, look, this cannot continue. Let us sit and settle. We can pay compensation, we can do anything, but there is no sense coming and wiping out an entire village just because something happened 5 years ago.
Are you getting results?
We are. Killings in southern Kaduna have stopped. There has been no killings in the last 6 months. Since Agwai's committee did that job and reached out to these people and talked to them and said, there is a new governor, we can talk, we can give you compensation for your lost cattle and so on. So we made progress there. So southern Kaduna is quiet. I'm very happy about that. The cattle rustling was mostly happening here in northern and central Kaduna, Benungwari, Giwa, Chikun, and so on. And what we did there was to ask the governors of the neighboring states, because there is a forest reserve, Kamuku Kuyambana, that straddles about 5 or 6 states, Niger, Kaduna, Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, Kebbi, and Sokoto, where these cattle rustlers use as refuge. So we agreed amongst the governors to fund a joint military operation to flush them out. And we've recovered so far more than 30,000 heads of cattle. Many of the rustlers have been killed, and so on. Now, what is unique about both phenomenon that we found in Kaduna, that all the cattle rustlers we have found so far, either killed or arrested, are Fulanis. They are young Fulanis, 18 to 30 years of age. They are armed, and most of them will say that they had to go into this business because they lost their cattle during the 2011 crisis. When we succeeded in reducing cattle rustling, a new phenomenon now emerged: kidnapping.
Well, that was Governor Nasir El-Rufai in a Sunrise Daily interview granted in April this year. Well, we'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll be speaking with Professor Chidi Odinkalu on some of his perspectives on, the farmer and the herdsman crisis. Do join us again on Hard Copy.